The road ahead for Notre Dame football now has a clear and meaningful marker on it, one that blends history, symbolism, and competitive weight into a single autumn afternoon in the mountains. On October 17, 2026, the Fighting Irish will return to Provo, Utah for the first time in more than 2 decades, renewing a quietly compelling relationship with Brigham Young University that has lingered in the background of the national conversation but never fully disappeared. The date, confirmed by Notre Dame on January 21, gives shape to a matchup that feels both familiar and new, a collision of 2 nationally respected programs that have traveled different paths yet arrived at a similar place in the modern college football landscape. For Notre Dame, the announcement is another reminder that its future remains rooted in a national footprint. Independence has always meant movement, and the Irish have long defined themselves by where they go as much as whom they play. Provo is not just another road stop, it is a place layered with memory, a venue that last welcomed Notre Dame in 2004, when Lavelle Edwards Stadium delivered one of the most frustrating season openers in program history. That night, BYU erased expectations and held off the Irish 2017 after building a commanding 20-3 lead midway through the third quarter. For a generation of Notre Dame fans, that game still lingers as a lesson in how unforgiving road environments can be, especially against disciplined, confident teams that thrive at home. The Irish also remember a very different visit to Provo, one that came a decade earlier in 1993, when Notre Dame rolled to a decisive 45-20 victory in a season that ultimately ended with a national championship. Those 2 games, separated by 11 years, formed the emotional bookends of Notre Dame's history at BYU, a split that mirrors the respect and unpredictability that has defined the series as a whole. When the teams last met in Las Vegas during the 2022 Shamrock Series, Notre Dame emerged with a 28-20 win that carried significance beyond the scoreboard. It marked the Irish's 4th consecutive victory over BYU and brought Marcus Freeman's career record to an even 3-3, a small but meaningful milestone early in his tenure that hinted at the steadiness to come. Since that night in Las Vegas, Freeman's program has found its footing in a way few could have predicted during the turbulence of his first season. Notre Dame has won 40 of its last 49 games, a stretch defined by consistency, physicality, and an increasingly clear identity. Yet even with that success, the Irish arrive at the 2026 season carrying unfinished business. A 10-2 record in 2025 was not enough to earn a college football playoff berth, and the disappointment of being left out lingered long after the final rankings were released. Notre Dame declined a Pop-Tarts Bowl invitation that would have paired them with BYU in Orlando, choosing instead to close the season quietly and turn its focus forward. That decision only adds texture to the upcoming meeting in Provo, where the matchup that never happened on a neutral field will finally take place in one of college football's most distinctive home environments. BYU enters the series from a position of strength, not nostalgia. Under Kalani Sitake, now more than a decade into his tenure, the Cougars have become a model of stability in a sport increasingly defined by volatility. 10 or more wins in 4 of the last 6 seasons tell only part of the story. Over the last 2 years, BYU has gone 23-4, a run fueled by physical play, defensive toughness, and a home field advantage that has become one of the most reliable in the country. The Cougars were 11-1 at home over that span, with the lone blemish a narrow 17-13 loss to Kansas in November 2024, a reminder that even the most disciplined teams are not immune to the grind of conference play. Ranked 11th in the final USLBM coaches poll, just one spot ahead of Notre Dame at number 12, BYU now occupies a space that feels both earned and sustainable. The Cougars are no longer treated as a novelty or a curiosity. They are a program that expects to contend, especially on their own field, where altitude, crowd intensity, and execution combine to create a uniquely demanding challenge. For Notre Dame, that reality makes the October 17 date more than just a scheduling note. It becomes a measuring stick, a chance to test a roster built with postseason aspirations against a team that has mastered the art of winning close, disciplined games. The symbolism of the matchup extends beyond records and rankings. With USC officially dropping off Notre Dame's schedule, the Irish have leaned further into creative, meaningful home-and-home series that preserve their national reach while maintaining competitive relevance. The agreement with BYU, announced in December and now given a firm date for the first meeting, fits squarely into that vision. Two faith-based institutions with proud traditions, national fan bases, and deeply ingrained identities will meet not as strangers, but as programs that understand the weight of representing something larger than themselves. When BYU visits South Bend in 2027, the story will continue, but Provo will host the opening chapter, and that matters. Lavelle Edwards Stadium has a way of compressing time, of making past and present feel uncomfortably close. For Notre Dame players who grew up watching highlights rather than VHS tapes, the 2004 loss may feel distant, but the challenge it represents is timeless. Discipline, patience, and execution are demanded there, and mistakes are rarely forgiven. For BYU, welcoming Notre Dame back after more than 20 years is an opportunity to reaffirm its place on the national stage, to show that its rise has not been fleeting or circumstantial. As the 2026 season begins to take shape, the October 17 date stands out as more than just another game circled on the calendar. It is a crossroads of history and momentum, of programs moving forward while carrying the weight of what came before. For Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, it is a chance to walk into a hostile environment with clarity and confidence, to prove that recent disappointment has been converted into resolve. For Kalani Sitake and BYU, it is a chance to defend a home field that has become a symbol of consistency and belief. And for college football itself, it is a reminder that some matchups gain power not from frequency, but from patience, waiting decades to feel new again.